So some bombshell news just came out on the eve of the election, showing Donald Trump beating Kamala Harris in every swing state. And you guys know that I do not live or die by the polls, but this one is extremely interesting and I think needs to be taken seriously. And I'm not just saying that because it's showing Trump winning. If it was showing Kamala winning in all the swing states, I would take that just as seriously. And I'll explain why this poll is bad news for Kamala Harris and actually a very likely outcome for Donald Trump. So I'm going to put this poll up on screen so you guys can see it with me while I go over it and explain what's so important about this poll. So this is an Atlas national poll that shows Trump beating Harris in every single battleground state. You have Trump up 3.4 in North Carolina, up 2.5 in Georgia, up 6.5 in Arizona, 5.5 in Nevada, up 1 in Wisconsin, 1.5 in Michigan, and up 1.8 in Pennsylvania. So this poll has a 2-point margin of error, which basically means that North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada are outside of that margin of error, while Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, the blue wall, is a much tighter race. Now, at first glance, these numbers don't tell us anything significantly different than most of the other polls that are out there. It's showing them to be a tight race, some states going to Harris, some states going to Trump. The reason why this poll in particular is so important to look at right now is because of how the data is presented. So if you understand polling, you understand why it's in the best interest of the person polling or the company polling to not put themselves in a position to be wrong. Because if you're looked at as being wrong, you're going to be taken as a less credible polling source. So everybody in this election has been playing it extremely safe, showing Harris winning some states and showing Trump winning some states. But the fact that Atlas came out and presented Trump as leading in all of these states is what's significant. Because if you take into account the margin of error, these poll numbers are relatively similar across a lot of other polls, and I'll show you that just here in a second. But the fact that Atlas is willing to put themselves out there in a way that could otherwise damage their credibility by making such a bold prediction that Trump is going to win every single swing state shows you that their data is probably extremely valid. Otherwise, they would play it safe just like every other poll and say it could be a toss-up and say some states are going here, some states are going there, but they're willing to present the data in a way that really puts their necks out there on the line if they were wrong. So I think that they're very confident in their data, in their polling, the information that they're getting in order to put it out this way. Now I'm going to show you polling from CNBC that shows almost essentially the same numerical data as the Atlas poll, but the way that it's presented is a far less risky and doesn't make any bold claims as to not be wrong in the future if things go the other way. Watch.
And I don't blame the pollsters. You know, they really got it in 2016, as did many of us forecasters. In 2020, they also got it wrong. It was much closer than they projected in the swing states. So I get it. They're preparing the way. But I just don't believe that it's absolutely dead tied the way they're presenting it.
So I'm going to pull back up this CNBC polling data so you can see it. And we're going to compare it to the Atlas poll. And I'll show you how, while it's almost presenting the same numerical data, it's presenting a much different image because a lot of these pollsters, after the blunder in 2016, where Hillary was polled far more favorably than Trump, and then Trump won, after that, a lot of pollsters decided that they wanted to play it safe as not to appear extremely wrong if the outcome was different. So look, Michigan, Harris holds a 1.8% lead. Well, if we look at Michigan on the Atlas poll, Trump is up 1.5 points, but it's a 2% margin of error. So if you implement that, that'll lower Trump down to 48.7 and Harris to 49.2, which would actually give her a 0.5 lead if you interpret it that way. Now it's showing Michigan up 1.8% as opposed to 0.5% in that other example, but if you go down the list, you'll see what I mean. In Georgia, Trump is leading by 1.2, Well, if you look at Georgia on the Atlas poll, it's 2.5. So if you implemented the 2%, it would be 49.1% for Trump and 48.6% for Harris, only giving Trump a 0.5 lead, which makes it look closer to that 1.2 that they're showing. Same for Pennsylvania. Trump up 1.8% in Atlas, up 0.1% in Pennsylvania. If you drop Trump down by a point, that's 48.6, and Kamala up a point, 48.8. She's now up 0.2 in Pennsylvania. North Carolina, Trump is leading 1.2. When you look at Atlas, he's up 3.4, but if you implement the 2, that would bring Trump down to 49.5 and Kamala up to 48.5, which would be a 1.4 lead, closer to that 1.2 lead they're showing. Wisconsin, 1 point lead for Harris. On the Atlas poll, it is a 1 point lead for Trump. So if you implement the 2% margin of error, it immediately shows Harris leading 1%. Same for Nevada, 0.6, and it brings it down to well, in the Atlas poll, it's much more significant. But you see what I'm getting at. The numerical data is almost equal, but it's all about how that numerical data is displayed. And the fact that a reputable pollster, Atlas, decided to present it in a Trump landslide means that they have conviction in their data. Otherwise, they would just mix it up and mash it up in the same way 99% of other polls are doing. And if to make matters worse for the Democrats, Trump, who consistently underperforms in polls, both in 2016 and 2020, is performing better in the polls than he's ever done before. And if you know that he underperforms and he's doing this well in the polls, if you're the Democrats, you're worried. Just watch what this MSNBC poll analyst has to say about this.
We have a tie in our final NBC News national poll here. 49 Harris, 49 Trump. We also had a tie a few weeks ago, the time before this that we were in the field with a poll. One thing to note about this, though, just taking a step back, is if you think to the last 2 presidential races, Donald Trump was on the ballot for the Republicans in each of those. The national polls were never this close in either one of those elections. In 2020, Joe Biden led consistently. Turned out there was a bit of a polling miss there. 2016, Hillary Clinton led consistently as well. This has been much closer all the way through this election. That Trump number, there's always that debate of where the ceiling is for Donald Trump. The Trump number has been getting higher, incrementally here, but maybe significantly in the polling this election than it's been in the past.
Trump beat Hillary in 2016, sometimes showing double-digit deficits in the polls. If this poll says that him and Harris are neck and neck, this is a very bad sign for the Democrats. When you combine that with the early voting turnout numbers from Republicans, you can understand why Democrats are in such a panic for the election day tomorrow. So Kevin O'Leary, businessman from Shark Tank, was on Fox News giving his opinion on how he thinks the battles in the swing states are going to take place. Listen to what he has to say.
Kevin, what does your gut tell you how tomorrow goes?
Binary outcome. Going to be decided by 3 or 4 in the morning. That's my guess, like everybody else is guessing. I'm in the camp that says the swing states all go to one side or the other.
What he's saying is echoing the exact same message from that Atlas poll. So when you combine people actually thinking that this is probably going to be the way that it goes, all the swing states voting for one candidate, then you have the Atlas poll showing which candidate is most likely all those states are going to go towards. Then you have the national poll that we just saw on MSNBC showing Trump neck and neck with Kamala, even though we know that he underperforms in the polls. You're looking at a situation where Donald Trump is very likely to win this election in a landslide victory. And in a last-ditch effort to try to drum up some final votes right before Election Day, Barack Obama went out to a rally and essentially told the crowd, yes, we did ruin your lives, but please don't vote for the other guy. Watch.
If you are black or Latino and you feel like too often your community is overlooked by politicians except during election time, I get how you feel. But why would you think the answer is to vote for someone who has a long history of demeaning and disregarding your communities? Maybe you're Muslim American or Jewish American, and you are heartbroken and furious about the ongoing bloodshed in the Middle East and worried about the rise of anti-Semitism. Why would you place your faith in somebody who instituted a so-called Muslim ban, who sat down for pleasantries with Holocaust deniers?
I mean, his message is, hey, black and brown people, we know that you feel like your government doesn't work for you and you keep getting betrayed by politicians, except for when it's election time. Now it's time to pander to you. And the majority of their vote is going to Democrat. So there's only one party that he's referring to as ignoring you and then pandering to you. And he's saying, I know you feel this way and it's justified because we do it. But orange man bad. And then he talks about Muslim people and Jewish people and says, you know, if you're really tired of the anti-Semitic rhetoric, you know, I know that we've created a climate in which we've allowed anti-Semitism to thrive, but orange man bad. You know, I know Muslims that you guys are upset with all of the lives being lost in Palestine and this war continuing and not ending, and we created that and we did that by enabling Iran to fund these terrorist groups and perform October 7th. But orange man bad. So the strategy is just never been more clear than it is now, which is before it was we have no policies, orange man bad. Now it's okay, we'll level with you. We know we ruined the economy, we know we ruined your lives, and we know we ruined the world, but orange man bad. So things are looking desperate, things are looking bleak for the Democrats, but make sure you guys go out there and vote tomorrow. If you do that thing, this election is in the bag, Trump wins in a landslide, and the next 4 years are going to be great. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Make sure you smash this like video so it can get out there to as many people as possible before Election Day. Share it with your friends so they know. Make sure you encourage them to go vote. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.